All right, hi. So, today I am going to just go over my literal, actual daily routine for putting on my makeup, the makeup that I wear to work essentially, anything when I'm on the go and I'm just trying to get a little something on so that I don't see any of this stuff and I just can look like myself but better, because that's kind of all I tend to make time for in my everyday life. I am not a huge like wake up super early and do the full glam person. I'm just not, and that's part of why I chose to go the route that I have with like this channel and stuff, is because I just don't care to cake everything on if it means that I'm going to be spending a crap ton of time on it and all that stuff. So this is kind of like my morning routine, and then in the next video, which is going to be basically right after this one, I'm going to just explain what I would do if I did actually have a little bit more time, because there are times where maybe I am going out at night and I want a little extra glamness or anything in between, job interviews or something where you want to be a little bit extra, for lack of better words. So we'll just jump right into it. Like, is there something in my teeth? It's gonna bother me unless okay. Anyway, I always brush my teeth after I do my makeup in the morning too, so this is kind of perfect. All right, so I've already moisturized and added a little bit of eye cream for hydration. I have lately been using the L'Oreal Hydra, I'm a like beauty guru status, Hydra Genius, and as you can see, it's almost done. I am trying to use this up, not because I don't like it, I actually really like it under makeup and I think it's great and would totally recommend, but it's just quite fragrant. And also I am just trying to use some things up that are a little bit older in my arsenal, because I get Ipsy samples, I get a lot of these things where I want to make sure I can kind of use them up in a timely manner so they don't go bad, all that stuff. So this is what I'm using today and what I have been using for the last month or so. It was a lot fuller when I started. But yeah, just use a few pumps of that. And then I decided to add a little bit of eye cream today. This one's by Dr. Lily Fan, and it's the Probiotic Eye Repair Cream. And this one was a sample size, but it's just getting a little bit older, and I recently was digging through my makeup reserves and skincare reserves, and I found this and I was like, oh crap, I should probably use this one before I finish up the other ones that I have. So this is great. Oftentimes at night I'll use this one because it does have a bit of retinol, or like an alpha hydroxy acid. Yes, it does, retinol. So this one I would recommend for nighttime. This one's from Hey Honey, and it's called Look Into My Eyes Retinol and Propolis Eye Mask. So I like this one overnight, but I would not recommend it in going out into the sun, because anything retinol or alpha hydroxy is going to exfoliate. And so when you're freshly exfoliating with an acid on your skin and you are going out in the sun, you can damage your skin. So another daytime one that I like is called Hope in a Tube from Philosophy. And this one's a little bit newer. I think they've had it for a while now, but when I got it, it was a little bit newer. And this one's more of like a hydrating, like plumping under eye cream. So essentially, I'll kind of do a little something like that in the morning, either that or kind of a face oil and, some eye cream or just some kind of something to moisturize, right? And so then, and because it's warmer outside, I'm tending to use less intense moisturizer because my skin's not so dry. In the winter, my face sucks up everything, so I have to tend to use more oil, more moisturizer, and a little bit thicker on all of those fronts. So this is a nice time of year because I don't have to try as much to have hydrated skin. Okay, and then to prime, we're gonna use this dewy Photo Focus Wet n Wild Primer. I'm addicted to this. I like pretty much only buy this now when I want an illuminating primer. It reminds me a lot of the Charlotte Tilbury, I think it's called Magic Skin, I forget, but it's the illuminating Charlotte Tilbury primer situation that's really similar to this. It's like almost an exact dupe. The Charlotte Tilbury might be even a little less shimmery, but honestly, since this is going right under makeup, I don't mind that it's a little more shimmery, and it just has kind of that champagne beigey tone to it. So, and it's a really nice fine shimmer. It's not like a big, huge, like chunky illuminator. So that's what it kind of looks like. It's really lovely, and I mean, the price difference speaks for itself. This is a great little primer. So we just prime. I can't stop thinking about Nikki Tutorials and her Optimus Prime thing. And I'll just kind of run that down the neck, just the excess. And I try to rub this in pretty well so that I don't get streaky spots or thick spots where it makes the foundation go on kind of weird. So there's our priming. Now for foundation, as of late, I've been using this Neutrogena Healthy Skin Anti-Aging Perfector. Essentially, old lady tinted moisturizer. But I honestly love this stuff. I think it has a beautiful texture. It's like a super soft, like not too greasy finish. And yes, it has a very light coverage, but I also use some concealer, and the illuminator also helps to blur some things out. So in combination, I get a really nice base. So we'll go in with this. I use 1.5 to 2 pumps. The one complaint I have about this is I find myself tending to have to dig in and get the little, you know how sometimes you leave something for a long time and it has that little hard dry bit in the opening of the pump? Well, this one does it every single day. So that's the only annoyance I have with it, is I have to like, you know, scoop that out of what I pumped out and just get rid of it. So, but it's really not too much of a hassle. It's just something I'd rather not have happen. So I just go in with my fingers most of the time. Sometimes I'll do a brush, but I don't really like the way this applies with a beauty blender. I feel like it just disappears too much. So I avoid the beauty blender, but I will use a brush if I'm feeling like fancy. But fingers work great for something like this because it's so blendable and such a soft focus coverage. Oh, and this shade is Ivory to Fair 10. And I think they have a pretty decent shade range online or in some stores. At my drugstore, it wasn't very much, or at least didn't look like it. There were only like 5 or 6 shades listed, but then when I looked online, I saw a lot more like dark ones and stuff, so, you know. But I'm sure this isn't like the most crazy popular item because, again, a lot of people these days are all about full coverage, and that includes foundation, not just concealer. So I don't know. It's probably not, they probably don't care that much about who's buying it. Okay, so that's all rubbed in. The nice thing about this is you can kind of feel when it's starting to dry down and not get so slick. So again, that's kind of why I prefer using fingers or like a brush with it, because you can kind of see it swirling around, and then once it starts to solidify and get a little bit denser, you can really feel and see that. So I kind of like that. Okay, so another thing I'm trying to get rid of, not really for any major reason, is this Makeup Forever concealer. As you can see, like a lot of the labels worn off. I've had this for a while, so again, that's kind of why. I like this concealer, but it is a little bit dry for me, I've noticed. So again, why I like to do a little bit more moisturizer and stuff. And it's a great summer concealer for me because it's waterproof and it sticks down really well. So I'm just using this up until it's gone. That way I can move on to some of the other concealers that I love in my, collection. And I might use a little bit more than this, but I probably use close to this much for my whole face. I'm really minimal when it comes to concealer and foundation. Obviously, I don't really like to look like I have a ton of makeup on. And I'm very freckly, so sometimes not having that not show through kind of makes my face feel weird to me. I don't know, it just doesn't look right. So I'm just gonna apply that on any of the areas that need some help. I have a weird little scabby thing on my nose because there was something in there that I picked at and I just could not leave it alone. So I will use a little more because I'm down to just like a tiny bit on my finger. I'm finding myself having to do this a lot. But this stuff has like been going on forever. Like just when I think, the air starts coming out when I'm trying to squeeze it out, I bang it on the counter a little bit more. And there we go, more product. So I guess it's really worth it. If you like this concealer, it'll last a very long time. And so I go around my eyes a little bit, and then with the excess, I just kind of go up between the brows on the forehead. And so for this step, I will use a brush. I sometimes, again, do fingers, but I kind of like a brush better for concealer because I can be a little more concentrated. So I'm just using this little brush. I think it's from Crown Brushes, but it's so old that like the labeling and even the actual paint is wearing off. So I cannot tell you the exact model number. I might be able to find it online. But it's basically just a nice like little denser kind of dual fiber brush. It's not hugely dense like a full-on buffing brush, but it's kind of like the next thing away from that. The bottom bristles, the black bristles almost remind me of like a buffing brush, and then the white bristles are like a lot more thinned out. So it has this really nice kind of combination of densities. I don't know, it's good for concealer. I like this one a lot. I think I originally got it for foundation and it just ended up being too small, so I swapped it to concealer. And I am basically a brush girl. I'm not hugely, again, a beauty blender girl. I don't know why. I love the finish that it leaves, but I think in some ways it's just like a hassle for me. And I'm more about like being as fast as I can in the morning, and that's truly what this is all about. And again, I use it sometimes for certain occasions or certain products that I like with it, but in general, I'm definitely more of a brush girl. So I just kind of go ham. This concealer is, again, it dries down, it's pretty dense, so by the time I get it all applied and get that brush on there, some of it's dried down already, so I can kind of really buff it around and it's okay. This spot's a little scabby and rough, and normally that would kind of bother me, but I just don't really care right now. There are other ways that I've gone about masking texture, and I can totally do a video about that as well. But that guy he's just there, and I just kind of have to deal with him right now because I'm not about to go the extra mile, because this is like my daily thing, and nobody's really gonna notice unless they're looking at me like this, and only like my boyfriend and myself look at me like that close up, right? Okay, so now that we're here, let's see. I'm gonna brush my eyebrows through a little bit just to make sure there's no foundation in them. But honestly, with any makeup look, I pretty much do my brows last because I don't want to worry about them moving when I put other products on around the brows. So let's see, usually what I'll do is kind of go in with bronzer and blush. So we'll do that. It's a little crumbly right now because I dropped it, but I've been using the, what is this, Wet n Wild? Oh my god, it's upside down, okay. Reading in the mirror. Okay, so I've been using the Wet n Wild, what is this called? Color Icon bronzer. It's like one of the oldest school, like been around forever, super cheap Wet n Wild items. I loved the giant pan size. This thing has lasted me forever. So that was kind of why I bought it. I was like, let's see how good this works, and it's great. I mean, it's smooth. It has the tiniest bit of luminosity in there, but it's not so much that you really notice it, so I'm into it. And I'm just gonna go around kind of that 3C shape. I start by tapping all up around here. I basically bronze where people would normally highlight, but again, I'm going for a like natural kind of sun-kissed vibe over here, not a like contoured, sculpted look. Sometimes I'll contour, but again, it's like a time thing, and I feel like contouring is one of the more challenging things for my particular face because I don't have an automatic like great bone structure. So again, I cut things out that take me a really long time, and contour is one of those ones where it takes a while and I get really like OCD about it, so I just don't want to deal most of the time. Okay. And I just kind of go in, I shake some of it off, and I tap around until everything looks even. I hit the neck a little bit behind the ears and a little bit over the ears. Then I go through the chin a little bit just to balance everything out. And I will also hit the nose a tiny bit. And usually I just go like this. I'll just brush up against the bridge of my nose and then over a tiny bit and sweep the excess across. Again, where the sun would naturally hit. And I have such a tiny forehead that I can't really bronze and contour my forehead either. It just closes everything off. So that's why I kind of keep it in this linear area on the sides of my face. I think it has a slight slimming, shading effect, but it's not so much that I have a forehead that looks like it's this big now. So we're good with that. Sometimes I will go in with blush, not every day. Sometimes I stop here and do some brow gel and like a lip gloss or color, and I just go from there. But today we'll do a little blush because I've been going back and forth, so screw it, why not? And again, I think this is like an older e.l.f. brush or something. It really looks like them, but I can't pinpoint what it is because I've had this brush for literally ever. But it's really nice and soft and not super dense. It's like really fluffy, and I love that in a blush and like a bronzer brush. And that's why I like this one too, because it's just big and fluffy. So these are kind of almost identical in effect. So you could really use this for your blush too if you're doing it like me. And I've been digging this Tarte one. This one is called Quirky. It's an Amazonian clay 12-hour blush. And it's so tiny because it's from Ipsy, so the real ones are normal size. This one is hugely pigmented. It's got a lot. So if you can see what's on the brush right now, I'm going to really tap that off. Yeah. Okay. I smile a little bit because again, this is very flat right here. And I start right up here, like on the highlight area again, because I'd rather see the blush more concentrated on the upper cheekbone than the apple if it's going to be really pigmented. So it's kind of like a safety net thing. Like I'll bring it inward as I go. And I also hit the brow bone a little bit because I think it just adds a really nice, it marries everything together. Now this blush is quite matte, so Um, I mean, it's fine. I sometimes prefer more of an illuminating blush as well. That way, like, I can kind of skip highlighting. And I have almost the exact same color as this from a different brand in a more illuminating formula, but it is currently cracked and I need to throw some alcohol in there and fix it. So I can't use that one today. So anyway, again, it's all about balance. Just trying to make myself look like I'm glowing and I possibly see the sun sometimes. And I'll do the chin a little bit and a little bit over the nose just to, again, make everything cohesive and happily married. I think we look pretty even. I'm mostly looking in the mirror right now, but I'm trying to check in the camera just to make sure that things aren't absolutely crazy. Ooh. It's a little bit allergy-y right now. Anybody else feeling that? Okay, so today I'm gonna highlight, again, this is one of those ones where sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but since we're here and we're just kind of going through it, I will highlight a little bit. I just need to find a brush that I can do that with properly. So I tend to go in with something a little bigger. I like big brushes. I don't know why. I love big eye brushes, big face brushes. So we're gonna use this one. This is a little Real Techniques. I think, oh, this one's actually called a blush brush. The other one I used from Real Techniques is called a powder brush. So yeah, I'm kind of sizing up. And then I'm using this skin blush from Kaleido Cosmetics. And I think the color's called Prom Queen. So it's like a highlighting, peachy, almost reminds me of like the kind of orgasm blush effect. It's like peachy and goldy. So it's really pretty. And I'm so full of Nikki tutorials today. She was doing that kind of K-beauty Blackpink makeup look on herself the other day. And she did this highlighting thing where it went all the way in near the lip, and I just tried it one time and I loved it, and I think it really complements my face shape in particular, again, because I'm quite flat through the cheeks, so it kind of brings light to the apples. Yeah. So it's like almost like making a rainbow. And I go over the eyebrow bone as well. That way I get a little sheen on the forehead where I want it. Sometimes I'll go all the way across, but not always. And I'm like one of the only people in the world, I feel like, that would actually prefer to highlight their forehead because mine is so tiny. So I'm sorry if that doesn't work for you, but do the shapes that you like. This is just for me. Hit the lip a little bit. And we'll hit the top of the nose. A lot of the time I just like to flick across. It gives a nice little line, just as if I was going to do more of a precision application. That's pretty bright, so I might just go in and kind of soften that. There we go. It's a little better. And just get the tip of the nose. I'm not a huge like tip of the nose highlighter. I think my nose is long enough, doesn't really need help in that department. So that's kind of it for the face makeup. We're gonna run that brow brush through one more time. I look really Tin Man-ish right now because I have all this crap over my lips that will go away when I put something glossy on. There is one hair like floating in front of my eye and I cannot find it. Wow, it was really stuck on there. Do you see that? Okay, so now I'm gonna go in with some NYX brow, it's called Tinted Brow Mascara. So I like that because it's a little bit more densely pigmented. There's another one from the Sephora brand that I can't think of the name of right now, and I switch back and forth between that and this, but I've been really liking this lately because it has a little more of that tiny mascara wand effect, so it really brushes the hairs into shape. The other one has a bit more of almost like a lip gloss wand on there, but it's like really spiky, and so sometimes I get a little too much pigment for, you know, a brow gel. Like, it's a fine line. You want to define and have them show up, but you don't want to feel like you have all this clumpy, inky stuff behind the brows. So I have been preferring this applicator lately because it's a little bit softer. And as you may have seen in the last video, I just did my eyebrows, and this is my favorite time for makeup because they already have such a nice shape on their own that you can really see the difference with just a little bit of brow gel. When they're a little bit more grown out, I definitely tend to have to like pencil them a little bit because they get weird. They get a little patchy and the shape gets a little off. So this is kind of the perfect time. Like, if I stayed up on my waxing more, I'd have less work to do. Okay, so we're just feathering it through so it's kind of an even coating, so it gives it some shape and some presence on the face. Because again, when I'm going to work, I don't need to look super, super made up. I don't work in a neighborhood that's very, like, you know, high maintenance type of clientele or anything. I really work with like a lot of kids and families and chill peeps. So the natural look is totally suitable. This is completely fine. All right, so that's good on that. Let's see, one of the things I've really been digging lately is this lip tint from The Balm Jour? I don't know why. The Balm Jour, but by The Balm. I'm losing my mind. But this one's called Creamy Lip Stain, and the shade is... What is the shade? Oh my god, I think I've had this happen before. I honest to god do not know what the shade is. It might just be a number. It says 438 on the bottom, so I'm assuming that that's the actual shade. Anyway, either that or it's called Konnichiwa, because that's what she's saying on there, but I can't tell. I'm sorry. Again, it's a sample size. Forgive me. But I just love this color. It kind of goes with everything else. It's a bit of a warmer nude. And then throughout the day, as it wears off, it stains your lips a little bit, so you don't have to worry about reapplying. And yes, I'm gonna talk while I have this thing on my mouth. Also, something I love about highlighting the upper lip before I do anything else is when I throw a lip gloss or lipstick on, it really defines my lips, and then the highlight kind of enhances that lip line. Kind of gives me more of a pout. So that's pretty much what I would do on the daily. Just pretty fresh. It's easy. And it's fast. It only takes about 10 minutes or 15 maybe normally. Because I'm talking through, it took a little longer, but you know, that's how it goes. So I hope you liked this. Hope you got something out of it. Stay tuned for the next video because it will give me a chance to take this look to the next level. So we're gonna start here and we're gonna only add on. So I think this is gonna be kind of fun. All right, thanks, bye.